Welcome out to a man on the street. Ray Kennedy here, Tampa Bay Ray for the Bucks Report with a Sunday morning special edition of Cup of Ray. Is it a special edition if it's usually on Sunday mornings around 9 o'clock here on Bucks Report? Your Cup of Ray, your sojourn for the sports star of soul. Hey, Bucks fans, we're 2 weeks now removed from the Super Bowl 55 championship, and we continue to look at everything and break it all down, and we're not doing it ad nauseum. We're doing it because it's very interesting. On today's show, I'm supposed to have Mr. Gene Thomas from Buck What You Heard, but I've also got wind out here because unlike what the weather forecasters had said was going to happen, we went straight from a cold front out of the northwest early on Friday all through the day to a straight northeasterly coming out of the southeast now, but the breezes are beautiful. I'm out in front of us, the Maple Street Biscuit Company, right here at the Seminole City Center in the beautiful city of Seminole, Florida. Talk to the management out there. I love to come over here, eat breakfast here all the time. If you like not only a good hometown type of breakfast, I mean one that feels, I want to say one that feels like it was cooked in a little. I don't want to say use the term greasy spoon because there's nothing greasy or spoon about it. But if you want a hometown, feels like it was cooked in a great diner, but yet has these flavors, outstanding flavors and taste bud generators. You're looking for a nice Sunday morning or any morning breakfast. You want to come over here to the Maple Street Biscuit Company. They make their biscuits fresh, and here's what I got. So first of all, they make their orange juice fresh to squeeze, which is fantastic. My daughter, and of course, who doesn't love a child begging for fresh vitamin C? But every time we come here, she makes me get the orange juice. But I am a sucker for the sausage, gravy, and biscuits, and give me a little bit of those delicious potatoes. And here's the thing, Bucks fans, come in here anytime to the Seminoles, to up here in Seminole at the Seminole City Center, to the Maple Street Biscuit Company. Mention you saw us here on Bucks Report, and they're going to give you either one of their iced cinnamon biscuits, which is basically, yeah, you guessed it, a homemade biscuit done up just like a cinnamon French roll. It's delicious. I love it because the cinnamon and the ice actually sit on the biscuit a little. And I'm, like I said, I'm a sucker for a homemade fresh biscuit. Been loving biscuits and gravy my entire life, biscuits and anything else. Or a large iced coffee. So mention to the fine folks over here, Dylan, that you saw on Bucks Report, and they'll give you one of those, either a free iced cinnamon biscuit or a free cup of sugar coffee. So anyway, let me get a sip real quick. There's going to be some breeze. It's not perfect. You know how it is when I bring it out of the studio. But again, we're comparing the Super Bowl from 2002 to the Super Bowl from 2020. And today we're driving a little deeper into the general managers. And again, I'm going to have Gene Thomas of Buck What You Heard and the professor, the historian here on Bucks Report, Johnny Dean. We're so glad you joined us for a Sunday morning cup of Ray. Sit back for a moment. Let's... Well, there you have it. Since I spent so much time in my opening, a little monologue there, Mr. Peter Blake taught me that on Friday night. I was listening to Peter's opening for the Sports Web, and he started hitting on the free agency and started hitting on who are we going to re-sign to make another run at the Lombardi for 2021. And I was like, oh, I got to call in right now. Because usually, like you all, I like to sit back and kind of let the flow of the Sports Web and see where Mr. Peter Blake's head is at that night. But I had to call right in, and he's like, Ray, Tampa Bay Ray, I'd love to hear from you, but I'm doing my monologue. I'm like, that's right, Pete does a monologue. So because I had such a large opening thinking to find folks here at the Maple Street Biscuit Company, I'm going to waste no more time bringing in my first guest of the morning. Of course, you know him from Buck What You Heard. I know him as one of the greatest guys to talk to, and we almost got on the phone yesterday, and we couldn't even get off the phone. Mr. Gene Thomas. Good morning, Gene. How are you today?
Man, I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on. This is exciting, man. I mean, in Jason Light we trust.
In Jason Light, we trust. And Gene, you and I were doing a little pre-production meeting yesterday. I called you. We were reaching out. We're kind of talking about some topics for a nice Sunday morning cup of Ray. And like I just alluded to, we almost couldn't get off the phone, could we?
I know, man. It just kept going on and on. I was like, well, maybe we need to save some of this for the camera.
Yeah, we did, and that's why. And I got another call early this morning from the only other person on our wavelength. I'm not saying old school just because we're old school, but they can talk the kind of old school knowledge that we can. And I'm going to bring him in right now. You, of course, this cat, the professor and the official, unofficial historian at Bucks Report, Mr. Johnny Dean. Good morning, Johnny. How are you?
How's it going, guys?
Good. How are you doing?
How you doing, Gene?
Good. Long time, my friend.
No doubt. I've been catching your shows.
I appreciate that.
Now I'm going to pose a question.
You always bring it, Gene. You always bring it.
Always does. Yes, Gene, you do. And I'm going to go ahead and throw it right out there and pose a question. Let's start with this, the similarities between what Rich McKay was able to do 21 years ago or 22. Of course, I alluded in my opening show, guys, if you will, that he comes from California with his dad, John McKay takes over the team. Rich plays quarterback his senior year at Jesuit High School, goes on to graduate from Princeton University and does his post law school there at Stetson College here in Florida. Starts working for a lawyer company here in Tampa Bay. He was the ball boy every summer out there at camp. You'd see Rich running around, just a kid growing up. And of course, those of us that saw it were just so jealous. We're like, oh, I'd love to do that. But Rich McKay takes over the team. And then the similarities, if you will, Gene, I'll ask you first. Some of the similarities maybe that some of the things you saw Rich McKay do in building a championship team, and maybe the similarities to what you saw Jason Light do in building a championship team.
Yeah, the things that kind of stuck out to me, probably the first thing was the coaches. You had Sam Weish is who they started out with, and they went from Sam Weish to Tony Dungy to John Gruden to basically winning a Super Bowl. And along the way, I know there weren't. I would say this team was consistently built. And when you look back at Rich McKay's body of work, you've got all these Hall of Famers and guys that should be in the Hall of Fame that he either drafted or that they brought in from free agency. So it was so much talent that came through and helped to build. Then you look at Jason Light, and Jason Light, same thing. You had Lovie Smith, and from Lovie Smith you go to Dirk Cutter, and from Dirk Cutter you go to Bruce Arians to winning a Super Bowl. So a lot of similarities. I think when you compare the two, and I really hate doing this because Jason Light's work is not done here yet. It's going to be really interesting to see how he tops what his last free agency post draft / draft turned out to be. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see what he does. But with Jason Light, I have to kind of give the edge to Jason Light, not because we're in the current, but because he was able to build this team and the salary cap was not outrageous. Whereas with Rich McKay, you bring in Keyshawn Johnson and that cost you some draft picks. John Gruden, and that cost you some draft picks. And then you had the ineptness of the general manager and head coach. He has to take some of the blame as well in the level of talent that they brought in after the Super Bowl. And it just kind of stymied their ability to get back and, play for another win where they did have the talent. They could have done that.
I'll tell you what, Gene, plus going into 2019, Jason Light, I think it was like 24 and 52. We had seen Johnny Dean. We'd seen the pieces that Jason Light started to put together. Of course, he drops the mic in his very first draft pick with Mr. Mike Evans. But then we had Jameis Winston, and then we had to trade up for Roberto Aguayo. But we saw Tristan Wirfs, and now we saw Devin White. Of course, Tristan Wirfs being this year's first-round draft pick. But, going into 2019, Jason Light's, and of course, Bruce Arians agrees to come here only because he says that Jason Light's contract will be tied directly to his. But Johnny Dean, wouldn't you say going into 2019 that, if the things that currently happen here, Jason Light was looking, he was going to have to start really fighting for his job?
I don't think he was actually fighting for his job. I think, honestly, that the Glazers had faith in him and understood the situation with the coaching staff, because a GM is only as good as his head coach and the staff around them,
Right.
I do think that there are some similarities, but if all right, Rich McKay, 94, his first 2 draft picks, Hall of Famers. Okay, that's going to be a hard bar to set right there.
Hey, John, I'm glad you bring that up, JD, because do you remember that second? Of course, we take Warren Sapp first, but when we trade up into number 28 in the second round and we take Mr. Derek Brooks, double nickel out of Florida State University, do you remember how the Buccaneers acquired that draft pick?
Oh, man, you got me on that one.
Boom, right? How about you, Gene?
Hey, you got me.
I only did some research. I only know because I'm reading a book on Bucs history. But the Dallas Cowboys, we gave the Dallas Cowboys our 2 second-round picks to move up to take Derek Brooks at the end of that round after having. And guys, I told you, Gene, yesterday talking with you, and Johnny, I've told you before. I cannot express to you guys how much of a truth this is. Buccaneers fans, we've cried a few times in our lives, but tears rolled down these Irish cheeks the day we drafted Warren Sapp. And then when we went and added Derek Brooks, of course, we couldn't have seen them both being Hall of Fame players, and that being Rich McKay's very first draft. But I'm sorry, Johnny, go ahead.
This is a funny comparison because look at it like this. The number 1 draft pick for Rich Warren Sapp, right?
Yeah.
Right.
All right. Now, Jason Light's biggest draft pick, his first big draft pick was who? Vita Vea.
No, actually, it was Mike Evans.
I would say.
Well, oh yeah, okay, yeah, I forgot my.
Well, he was
talking about under this regime. I'm talking about these. Mike Evans is an exception because other than Mike Evans, out of his first few years, I don't see a whole lot of Hall of Fame talent. But what I'm saying is, look how they drafted now. Vita Vea, and then they go middle linebacker with Devin White, and they go safety with Winfield. Does that seem familiar to you?
Yeah, it seems like we're working it back, which is great because we were already working it back to old school because Rich McKay actually touched on the fact that they asked Rich McKay when he assembled that team that won that Lombardi Trophy, Super Bowl 37, they asked him if there was a coincidence between the way he built that team and the way his father had built the original team. Strong defense, run it first offense, and it seemed like Rich McKay had done it the exact same way. And Rich McKay doesn't say that he says he didn't really plan it that way, but it does seem to have worked out that way, right, Gene?
Yep, I totally agree with you. Games are won and lost in the trenches. That's not a cliche. I mean, if you look back at these last 7, 8 Super Bowls, with the exception of last year with Kansas City, games are won and lost in the trenches, and whoever's dominant in the trenches is that's where it's at. I think that Buccaneers fans should really, really appreciate this year's team, because of how dominant they were in the trenches, and we haven't had that here for over a decade.
Yeah, 100%. And Johnny, you were alluding back to the fact that we've started drafting those defensive pieces. And when Lovie Smith wasn't, when Jason Light came in as general manager, Lovie Smith was already here. And of course, they draft Jameis Winston, and Jason Light decides, or the team decides, to keep on Dirk Koetter and let Lovie go because they wanted to continue the development of Jameis Winston. Now, Johnny, wasn't that one of the greatest things for you? And maybe I'm going on a limb here, but when Bruce Arians comes in here with the no risk it out in front of the Maple Street Biscuit Company, the no risk it, no biscuit philosophy, he also brings in Todd Bowles, who, by the way, has been one of my favorite defensive coaches over the last 5 years.
Right. He's built a complete team. That's what separates Jason from Rich. He's built a complete team. When was the last time we drafted somebody like Tristan Wirfs?
I mean,
Paul Gruber, maybe. Well, no, not even Paul. No.
Well, no. We tried to take Kenyatta Walker, right, or Pinata Walker out of Florida, and then we have. Was Donald Penn a first-round pick? I think he was a second-round pick. But I mean, as far as getting that solid that offensive lineman and just making it your number one priority, and then of course, guys, we get lucky because honestly, now I'm not saying Mekhi Becton and Andrew Hughes don't pan out over time, but won't we all agree that Tristan Wirfs 100% turned out to be the best offensive lineman to come out in 2020?
Yeah,
100%. Yeah,
that was solid.
And I had Becton at the top of my list, so yeah.
Becton's a monster, and that goes back to talking with our boy Jacob up there and talking, because he's talking with the Jets, and they got Mekhi Becton, and of course now the Jets seem like, I'm not going to go off on that tangent anyway. But so you and I yesterday, Gene, were talking about the fact of cap issues. And tell me, why do you think the fact that the Buccaneers didn't have, because, it had started right in 92 with Reggie White. He really broke the mold and started getting out there, but it wasn't anything like it was today. And why do you think that may have been easier or harder for Rich McKay, or why it's possibly going to make Jason Light's job a little bit more difficult?
Well, it was a different time back then when the Bucs were drafting between 95 and 2002 or wherever that was, because it was easier to keep players with these players weren't building their brand at that time, and they were working on getting these contracts, and players were willing to stay in a location a lot longer. I don't know, maybe it was 2002 where the start of free agency, because we got all those free agents to come in and really contribute to the team when they won the Super Bowl. Pina McCardle, Joe Jurevicius, Ricky Dudley, and Michael Pittman. Some of these players that they were like, I don't want to say guns for hire, but these are guys that you brought in from free agency. So I don't know if that was like the start of free agency where it was growing to where it is now. But when you look at what teams have to work with, I mean, Jason Light has been very smart about the cap, and he's put himself in a position where he can sign up a lot of his players back and come out looking good and competitive for the season coming up.
Yeah, that's one thing Jason has done exemplary at is the value he gets. He has gotten man. Come on, we got Tom Brady at what, less than Jameis Winston wanted. Right. So.
Hey, let me ask you this, Johnny. Let me ask you this though: do you think it's okay? So they're talking about now of this period. SI.com runs a story this week, and of course they're definitely referring to the GOAT TB12 TB. The fact that we're going now into a period of NFL football where it seems like the quarterbacks are on a nomadic mission to search for championships and putting the money on the back burner, if you will. But like this week, Teddy Bridgewater. Of course, we've been hearing the people in North Carolina or the Carolina Panthers aren't excited. And of course, I would say it's more to do with Christian McCaffrey unable to stay on the field. But the people, Matt Rule and those Carolina Panthers are looking for another quarterback. And you hear yesterday that Teddy Bridgewater unfollowed the Panthers on Instagram. Is that the kind of thing you see these days? That the way a player can basically announce to the world his disassociation with a team? Is that going to make it better for us to be able to get contracts moving around and players are going to get paid more, or is it going to be something in the end that's going to hinder them more?
I think the players have always had a way of announcing to the world, whether it's letting it slip through their agent or letting it slip through a personal friend, that hey, we're not going to be here next year, and shop them around. That's always been a way for them to avoid. Hold on.
Gene, what were you going to say?
No, I think you're spot on. I think with the emergence of social media, it's taken the NFL to another level. You can get things out now without saying anything. I mean, like the case with Teddy Bridgewater, the fact that he unfollowed his team and made his account private speaks volumes right there that he's not happy. And it was kind of unfair to him. I think he's a good quarterback. But I think when you're following up Cam Newton and what Cam Newton has meant to Carolina throughout his career, it's kind of unfair to him because everybody has these expectations of you, regardless of whether you can meet them or not. And there's a lot of times unrealistic. So, when you hear that, the fans aren't happy with him, because I know a lot of fans that were furious that he came in and they thought, that Carolina was only going to win one game. But, Teddy Bridgewater kept his team, he basically kept his team competitive. And had they had a Christian McCaffrey, had they had healthy wide receivers throughout the season, had their secondary been healthy, you never know what you're looking at here. I thought that Matt Rule did a great job with what he had. I thought Teddy Bridgewater did a great job with what he had too.
Yeah, I think they need a lot more.
Yeah,
I don't know what, but they need a lot more something there. Mike Davis stepped in for was it Davis? I think that's his last name. Yeah. Running back there at Carolina. He stepped in for Christian McCaffrey and did extremely well. He had 8 touchdowns, and that's running and receiving. So he kind of filled those shoes pretty well.
I know this is and I'm going to be muting my mic, guys, because I noticed, Gene, when you're talking, it's because of the wind coming in off of my mic that's kind of flushing you out. So I'll continue muting it. And if I start talking, you guys can either A, keep enjoying me not talking or being able to hear me, or B, let me know. But,
Ray,
go ahead, Jay.
I'm going to tell you something. I can't pull these comments up, man.
Oh, okay. I'll try to pull them up. But let me ask you guys something real quick, right? The latest reports, even as late as this morning on the NFL Network, has the Panthers, the Saints, and those Falcons all taking quarterbacks in the first round, possibly. Of course, we know it comes down to how it's going to shake out and who's going to still be there and if they're going to get the guy they want. But now, of course, if the Falcons take him and Matty Ryan stays another year, and if Drew Brees does stay another year and mentors a young guy, and in Carolina, I can only assume maybe they can keep Teddy Bridgewater. But I'll ask you guys, jump in on it, either one of you. If all three of the other NFC South draft quarterbacks, doesn't that give the Bucs a really great shot at taking the South for at least the next 2 years if they stay healthy and continue to do the right things?
Yeah.
I think they have a great shot at taking the South, no matter whether they're taking quarterbacks or not. Actually, yeah, I'm pretty sure they're all going to take quarterbacks because it's that time. I mean, Matt Ryan's lost his love for football. You can watch it in his attitude, the way he comes out on the field. He's never been one of those really aggressive players, and you don't ever see quarterbacks just sitting back like he does and just taking it. Not the great quarterbacks, not the guys that are in the Super Bowl.
I call that the Dirk Cotter effect. It looks like every time he walks to the sidelines, he remembers that his OC is Dirk Cotter. Now, how about Gene? What were you going to say?
No, I'm right there with you. I've never felt like he was a guy that's going to lead a team to the Super Bowl, and I really feel like they should have moved on from Matt Ryan after the Tom Brady comeback. I think that tore the heart out of this team. And this team has not been right since then. And they lost that competitive edge. They lost that swagger. I think you almost have to with Matt Ryan. And I'm going to go on record saying this, until Jameis Winston can show that he can make decisions under fire and on a consistent basis, I don't think he's the answer at New Orleans. And then you look at the situation in Carolina, it's basically the same thing. You just you don't know what you have or what you're going to have with that team.
Well, I'll tell you what, if another team's Well, I'm sorry, Jay. Boy, yeah,
no, I was just agreeing. I was agreeing with Gene there.
I'll tell you what. If another team didn't, I want to see Teddy make the money because I think there's not a cat that throws the ball more smooth in the NFL than the way Teddy Bridgewater, when allowed to set up and the way he releases, that ball travels and it actually has like a hook to it. It's just he throws a great spiral. And I'll tell you what, there's probably going to be at least 10 or 15 teams that possibly, maybe a few of them even trade for him because I did a little more digging on Friday night into the Teddy Bridgewater contract with Carolina, and because of the previous injury he's had when he was in Minnesota, the contact injury there on the practice field, this was purposely set up so that Carolina could get out this year and then even easier next year should it not pan out or should there have been another injury. So Carolina drafting a quarterback, not such a big surprise. Of course, New Orleans drafting a quarterback. I still think if they do draft a quarterback, then Jameis Winston probably is your best option for year two. Maybe, and plus they have Taysom Hill under contract, so maybe they go with that two-headed monster for 2021. But either way, I like the fact that, of course, the Bucs become road nomads this year and go to the Washington football team, then Green Bay. Or I'm sorry, then wait, where do we go after Green Bay? Now I'm forgetting. Then we go to New Orleans, then we go to Green Bay. I'd like to put another NFC South banner up in the stadium over Raymond James Stadium, have it say 2021, 2022, and so on.
You really think Jameis Winston's going to be the bridge quarterback there? Because he's been crying about contracts since he was here. All right, and now he needs to get used to it because this is what his role in life is going to be from now on. But he's going to be a Fitzpatrick, okay? He's got to be a bridge quarterback. If he himself has that in his head, fine. He might still be at the Saints. But if not, when those contract negotiations are over and they see Teddy Bridgewater out there on the market, who are you going to go with?
Well, and here's the thing with Jameis for me is that is especially in light of the crazy quarterback situation we have again this year, with every team looking to get that rookie quarterback in there or trying to make a change. This is probably not the year that Jameis gets paid. I think that the Saints could do a lot worse than to offer him some type of an escalation incentive that says if you play so many, well, first of all, if you play more than 50% of the snaps, then if you pay 75% of the snaps, then if we make the playoffs, and maybe it escalates to 10 to 15 to $16 million contract. But then again, the Saints have that cap issue to worry about. But I obviously, Johnny Dean, I agree with you that Teddy Bridgewater would be able to walk out right now somewhere and get a very good contract, because he looks like he's already ready to be a starter, whereas Jameis, being that he's under Sean Payton, the offensive guru that he is, kind of seems like he's still going through that image rehab, if you will.
Yeah, they're not. The Saints aren't going to want to go more long-term with Jameis. I guarantee you that. They're going to draft a quarterback, although that quarterback's probably going to be Mac Jones, and who knows what that's going to end up being.
Let me tell you, I like that quarterback.
Yeah, and
he's going to have to develop, and who better to develop? You're going to give him a couple of years to develop. I don't see him coming out and starting, and I don't know why he's being drafted in the first round.
Yeah,
but
Mac Jones?
Yeah.
Oh man, I tell you what, I'm sorry. Go ahead. What were you going to say, Gene? I'll let you go first.
Oh no, I was just going to agree with Johnny. And again, Jameis Winston is with the Bucs for 5 years, and we love who he is. I believe that unless he makes some kind of Alex Smith kind of change, I just don't see him in that as a sure thing in New Orleans. And I know a lot of people keep talking about Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill is an offensive weapon. That's what he is. He's not a quarterback.
Taysom Hill might not be there anyway, because that contract of his is pretty a good chunk.
Goes to $16 million this year, which I'm like, what? Yeah. But you talk about, here's what I always said with Taysom and Jameis, and I'm glad that they weren't able to find it, at least against the Buccaneers, because of course twice the first two the regular season games they didn't have an issue beating the Buccaneers. But I say you run Taysom out there, do a running formation type of offense, but then sneak them and have them do a drop back and hit someone. And then I say you bring Jameis out there and go pro set style offense with 4 receiver set, and then let Jameis run a quarterback keeper where you run it. And then you do that early in the game. Now the defense, they're trying to find their head from a hole in the ground, and now you have the upper hand. But that's the only way those two quarterbacks work. I do not think Taysom Hill's ever going to be a pure drop back 4-3 quarterback. But I think Jameis, I went back, Gene and Johnny, and broke down a lot of his tape from FSU. And, of course, Jimbo Fisher had a thumb on that team, so I can't say, I knew all the inner workings of the machinations. But Jameis Winston was the Heisman Trophy winner his freshman year, and that kid can flat out throw the ball and play. He needs to learn how to lead a team, not by eating W's, but just by getting them.
Yeah,
he's made the same mistakes though since high school, and that shows you that since high school. Okay, he's had developers around him, even though Mike Smith and those guys are not developers, but he has had people who develop quarterbacks around him.
Yeah,
and if they're saying he just can't get it, I think it's how when you go into a certain situation, you get that ball that knotted ball in your gut. And then you relax and just get into a zone. He don't do the relax part.
Right.
He gets hit. That ball just stays knotted up in his gut.
Yeah.
I used to puke. Man, before I walked out on the field. And that was in high school. And college was worse.
Well, hey, do me a favor right now. Let me grab a couple of these comments, guys, if you will, because Johnny said he was having trouble with them. Johnny Dean says, hey, everyone, comment, like, pound, and share that button. Definitely share the show today. And again, don't forget, come out here in Seminole only at the Seminole location for the Maple Street Biscuit Company. Tell them you saw us on Bucks Report, and you're going to get either one of those delicious cinnamon iced biscuits, a homemade biscuits done up like a cinnamon. Oh, man, tell you what, Gene, if you've never had it, or maybe you have, I'm going to have one after the show today, or a free iced coffee. So make sure you mention to the fine folks here at the Maple Street Biscuit Company you saw us on Bucks Report, and they'll give you bad service, but you'll get a free item. Christopher Cole says, hey, guys, what's up? It's time to get ready and go for 2. 100%, Christopher. Love it. Harry Berg says, who would have won, Bucks GMs or Mini Ditka? Could be interesting. It's always going to go back to Ditka with that guy. Wirfs and Winfield were home run picks. Yeah, Robert Horton. I love that. And you guys, I'll get through the rest of these comments real quick. There's not a whole lot of them. Eugene Thomas, hey guys, hey Gene. You can Ben Israel says players were signing Stephen Gilmore, Von Miller, Richard Sherman. Players were signing OBJ and Deshaun Watson. I know he's just kidding, but I say no. Von Miller could be interesting. But
well, come on, man. What, we're going to trade Shaq back to Denver for Vaughn?
No, we're not going to trade. But remember, Shaq came up through Denver's system. They know what they got in that kid. And Von Miller, with the injury, he's only played 4 or 6 games the last 2 seasons, and he might go someplace for a lessened contract and another run at the prize, but he already has. So maybe that's not the number one thing on his plate. But if the Denver Broncos, if Vic Fangio decides that Shaq Barrett, because he's lived there before, they know the kind of character this kid is, and Shaq's like, you know what, I've been to Denver, not so bad. If Shaq does go to Denver, I'm just saying that, but even maybe before we even talk about a J.J. Watt, Von Miller would actually have a supersized skill set as to what we'd be looking for if we lost to Shaq Barrett. You're talking because of the wind coming in off of my mic. Oops, sorry guys. All right, so what do you say, John? You're pretty quiet when I said that. Were you just didn't want to step on me too much?
Yeah, I saw that OBJ thing, and I've got a rant working up about that one, man. I keep seeing OBJ everywhere, man.
I can't.
Why, people? Why would we downgrade our wide receiver core?
He's still living off of that one-handed catch from 2015.
And he's still living off that ass kick, and he's looking from that punting net back in. But hold on a minute. I got a fourth person I want to bring in on today's Cup of Ray. Let's go ahead and bring this cat in. He's no stranger to Bucs Report. You know him best from the cheap seats and what's cooking in the South. Let's say good morning to Mr. Rick Hughes. Good morning, Rick. How are you?
Hey, how are you?
Good, brother. What you got going on today?
Work, but I think I'm the only person around who honestly thinks Drew Brees may come back. I'm not saying he should. I'm not saying he's good enough. I'm not saying his arm isn't shot, but the guy hasn't announced it yet.
Yeah.
I think the guy may come back, and they may run a 3-headed monster at quarterback.
They're gonna
three-headed monster.
Well, Taysom Hill, Brees, and Jameis again.
Yes, and I think
in running plays, you bring in
salary cap will allow for that.
I think they may use. What was that? What did you ask?
What was that, Gene?
Their salary cap will allow for that.
That's what I was going to say.
Here's the thing: they've already got Taysom Hill under contract.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Jameis, I don't agree with Johnny. I mean, Jameis may want a lot of money. He's not getting it anywhere. So I don't know that he's gonna. I mean, he'll sign for a couple million, whatever, 2-3 million. I think he's gonna to get more work and be able to show off his talents more. The fact that they sat him behind Taysom Hill does not look good for him.
I said that last season. I said that last March. I said that when Jameis signed there, I said, look, give the kid all the credit in the world. He went somewhere where you could have a reformation of that, of your whatever. But I said it came down to a crucial situation, midseason or later. Let's say it's a chin strap issue, or Drew Brees' shoe comes out, and in a quick pinch, you got to send someone out there. If they send Jameis or Taysom, and I know the type of player Taysom is, let's run a quick RPO, whatever. But we saw it time and time again throughout the entire season. Jameis was never that second alternative.
Right, and that's why I don't think he's going to sign for a lot anywhere. I think he comes back to New Orleans. They give him some playing time. I mean, they run a 3-headed monster out there, and Drew Brees has already restructured his stuff, his contract, so that's already taken care of. It just everybody else has retired that seems like they're going to retire. Everybody's announced it already. Why hasn't he announced it? It's because I think he's still, at the very least, contemplating coming back.
Well, do you guys agree, though, not only would Drew Brees have to agree, because, the Saints still have the pieces in place. You guys will all agree. Twice last year, and the Bucs were pretty solid against the Bucs, and, of course, we dropped a mic on them in the playoffs, which was fantastic, and that seems to be their MO from the last 5 years. But they still have the pieces in place with the Kamara, that offensive line, that defense, that Drew Brees would have to be looking to get that Super Bowl championship. So basically, he'd have to agree to a very friendly deal, not even close to what Tom Brady's getting with the Bucs. And I also think to run that two-headed monster, because of the cap trouble that the Saints are in, Taysom Hill's going to also have to restructure as well. Don't you think those? Don't you think so, Gene?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to say this first. The New Orleans Saints have had this monster team under Drew Brees since he's been here, and they only have one Super Bowl to show for it. And all the time that they've gone to the playoffs and all these wasted opportunities, but I'm going to call them, that's what they are.
Right.
In not getting the job done when they need to. I just don't know how this team's going to go against the Bucs and some of the other teams that are reloading in the NFL.
I think you're right, Gene. I don't think they're going to be able to. I don't see how they're going to be able to compete because they're going to have to basically decimate the team.
Yes.
I mean, there's no real option otherwise. There's $70 million over the cap.
Oh, they got an option. All they have to do is get smart and cut their losses with some of those quarterbacks and go grab Ryan Fitzpatrick. That's a better option than they have right now.
It's not, because you still have to pay Drew Brees. I think it's $25 million, and the only difference. I mean, I promise you can get.
All right, if
Winston
Brees comes back, then Winston. Who do you keep? You can't. How much? What's Taysom Hill's contract set up at?
He set up. I thought it was 16 over
it's
2.
16 million, but who has to eat that if they get rid of him?
That's a good question, Johnny. I'm not sure with that much money, giving that Swiss Army knife of a player. I'm not even sure if how much is guaranteed. So, but I thought I saw something today where that's either it was a misread or it was either misput on SI.com. But it looked like it escalated to 16.8 this year. So it looked like he signed a 2-year 16 last year, but with an escalation in this year, should he still be around? So either way, that's a lot of money to play for an RPO quarterback that comes in only about
$16 million guaranteed.
60 million guaranteed over 5
it's guaranteed.
Okay,
right.
so
That's why I was thinking. They can't cut it. Okay.
Right.
So they'll restructure and they'll get half of that back. So say.
So their best bet, if Drew Brees is going to still be on that team,
but now you got it next year,
is to get rid of Winston because they're drafting a quarterback.
Yeah.
Could they potentially push some of that money to the back end of Brees' contract?
They did.
Oh,
They
already
did.
done.
They restructured him last year, or was it 2 years ago?
They restructured him a week ago.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
He came in. What was he, over 30 million a year?
It was I think it was like 40 or something, and they restructured him down to 25
Hey guys,
or something.
can I ask a question here? This is a totally self-serving question, and
Sure.
Rick, I know what you're going to say, but I'll go back and I got the article I wrote on BucsReport.com. I said it the day he signed with them. I said that I know there was some red backsides. You guys already know I'm going with this. Do you guys not see a possible way that Jameis Winston could not, if he gets cut by the Saints, could not come back to Tampa Bay?
No, not a chance in the world. Not a chance in hell.
Do you think the team
I can see Gerald McCoy coming back before Jameis Winston.
Yeah.
Okay, Gene.
I said, Gene, it's funny you say that because I said on my show, I think Gerald McCoy is coming back to this as a depth piece.
Rick, this is for you. Josh Rosen would come back before Jameis Winston.
Oh,
no, I agree with you on that.
Hey, no, Rick, I love Gerald McCoy, who's been he's been not silent about his love for the Bucs. Still has the home here, has the children he's got in school. Well, I would, if we're talking about depth pieces, veterans to bring in that could be motivational and give that locker room just that good warm and fuzzy.
Well,
I would take Gerald McCoy over Adrian Peterson any day in that regard.
Well, I don't think Gerald McCoy motivates anything. I mean, I think he's proven the guy's not a leader. He's just not. I don't see that.
I think guys would work a little harder, not just because Tom's texting him at 5:30 every morning, Super Bowl week with motivation.
Ray Kennedy.
Go ahead, Johnny.
Adrian Peterson was more productive last year than Gerald McCoy's been the whole time he's with the Bucs. Okay.
Well, no, I'm just talking about needs and wants.
People don't realize how productive Adrian Peterson was last year.
Well, people do realize how many post games I sat in and I screamed because we're a pass first offense and we've already got a victim of volume and a Keyshawn Vaughn, and we could bring in a rookie for 180,000 instead of
What
paying
has
the veteran.
Keyshawn Vaughn showed you yet?
He's shown me some flashes, but he's shown me he's a very young player.
You're putting money on what ifs. I can't do that if you're running for a Super Bowl.
No, you're not putting money on it because you're not cutting him. So I don't understand. I'm just saying, look, if you get rid of Fournette at $3 million, I think they signed him for, you can probably bring in Peterson at $2 million.
Right.
I see.
I mean, LeSean McCoy is not coming back, so
right.
You got to consider there's.
That's
exactly. I think you end up with a James White and Adrian Peterson replacing LeSean McCoy and Fournette.
What were you going to say, Gene? Go ahead.
No, I'm right there with Rick Hughes. I think that's kind of how you have to go. And please, this is no knock to Gerald McCoy, the man that, what he's done for the community in Tampa, but I saw the run defense get better after he left. I saw the motivation. I saw a little bit more dog in the locker room after he left, bringing in Ndamukong Suh and having Vita Vea work with Ndamukong Suh has done nothing but really, just make him a better player. Again, I'm not taking anything away from what Gerald McCoy has done. Gerald McCoy stuck out on that defensive line in a time where there was just nobody else there, So that's what he did. But at the end of the day, I just don't see how Gerald McCoy helps this defensive line, especially against the run where that is their strength.
No, again, I think it's a depth piece. You don't look at him as improving the line. You look at him as a depth piece. Because listen, I'm not going to take anything away from what Gerald McCoy has done because he's done nothing. Okay, it's easy to not take away from what he's done because he hasn't done anything. I mean, his years with the Bucs. How many years was he with the Bucs? Name one play. Give me a Gerald McCoy play. I'll wait.
I can't.
No. Now I can already tell you about interceptions by Sue, the game-ending interception with the Rams. I can remember all kinds of things with Sue in the 2 years he's been here.
I can remember Gerald McCoy celebrating JPP's sack with both of them doing the.
right. You remember him celebrating somebody else's accomplishment. Okay. So, but I mean that. Listen, I'm not saying he's the answer to anything, and I am not saying anything other than this guy's going to come in as a depth piece at the veteran minimum to get a ring. That's the kind of thing I think he's going to do.
Hey guys, since we're talking about free agents for 2021. It's so easy to talk about all of them because we'd love to see all 53 run it back. But give me one. You got it. One of your top five. Now, don't just, because Ryan Suckup, he makes my top five, but I'm not sure exactly how solid that fifth place is in. Give me one of these free agents that you guys think that we may not have here next year.
Chris Godwin.
I think it's unanimous. Yeah, I was looking today. Chris Godwin to Indianapolis and the Frank Reich offense to be catching those passes now from Carson Wentz. Do we like that as a possible landing spot?
I can see that strongly right there. Yeah,
absolutely.
And if that happens, I think with the way the Colts run that team, I think that would be they'd be in the AFC Championship.
Or maybe even Jacksonville, right, with Trevor Lawrence and Urban Meyer, and they bring in a solid pair of hands because Urban at Ohio State saw Godwin from back when he was at Penn State. At least he was probably on his radar. And Chris Godwin's solid hands receiver, and you bring in a rookie quarterback. I don't even know if they're starting a rookie, right off the bat. But, of course, you saw what Joe Burrow did last year and Herbert did out in San Diego or Los Angeles with the Chargers. So, I don't know. I guess anything's possible.
I don't see Godwin going to a rebuild.
I can see them wanting him.
Yeah. Go ahead, Gene. Sorry.
I can see him going to the Colts because they're a contender, but I just don't see him going to a rebuild team. No. Money talks, but ultimately I see him going to a contender somewhere where he can get out there and produce. And I don't know.
Gene, here's the only thing I would say to that. Keep in mind there. Oh my God, I just lost his name. Who got his fingertips cut off in Tampa?
Fingertips cut off in Tampa. Was he a wide receiver?
Yes. Free agent.
Where's his name? Yeah.
crap. Well,
Not
anyway,
Rashard Perriman.
no. No, the trainer cut this guy's fingertips off years ago. I can't remember what his name is. But anyway,
Alvin Harper.
yes.
Was it Alvin Harper?
Yes.
See, I thought he lost his money at the club, but I mean, lost his fingers at the club.
No, but the thing is this: it's funny about Bucks with missing fingers, but the thing with Alvin Harper went from a contender to a team that was not, because it was time to cash in and get yours.
Right? He was on the other side of Michael Irvin. He wasn't that good.
Well, I understand, but somebody's going to say, well, he was on the other side of Mike Evans and AB.
I can make an argument that Perryman was a better fit as a number one going to the Jets than Alvin Harper was coming here.
Right. No, I understand that. So I don't know where Chris Godwin's going. I mean, I think that whole thing, we don't know what's in his head. We know Shaq Barrett wants money, right? So Shaq could go to a bad team and say, you know what, it's time, give me the money. You know, I give me my future. I'm not as young as I was when I came here. And so, I mean, could I see that out of Chris Godwin? Sure. I could see Godwin going to Jacksonville, you know, and then, and by the way, tell me Ryan Fitzpatrick doesn't fit Jacksonville like a perfect puzzle piece, because then you've got, you know, then the new quarterback coming in, which is Ryan Fitzpatrick's specialty. You know,
he's going to be a bridge there, because when they take that number one, he's going to play.
No, I understand that, but is that not Ryan Fitzpatrick's MO?
Well, Ryan Fitzpatrick's been saying that he's either a bridge or he's a starter, one or the other, but he's not going to ride Pine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead, guys. Keep going. I just want to, you know what, I'm starting to get a battery error here because I have a power battery recharger pack, but let's get some stuff out of the way before I do. Gene, tell us about some Smack Apparel and tell us where we can find you. Should we lose you? I know you guys did that Wednesday night. Are you going to be doing any more specials with Smack Apparel, giving some of them shirts away? Tell us about that.
Yeah, Wednesday and Friday, we will be giving away I don't know if you guys have seen it, the Antoine Winfield Jr. Beat Down in the Bay t-shirt. We will be giving away one of those shirts. There's a contest actually that's Smack Apparel has on Twitter right now. If you're not following them, please go follow Smack Apparel on Twitter, and we'll be giving away a shirt. It's as simple as participating, and if you get chosen, they'll send you a shirt out. They'll get your size and send you a shirt out. Just that easy.
And make sure the guys who win, or the people who win are both not working, so they can give you a call and talk about it. And where can everybody find you, Gene? Give us that again.
You can reach me at Buck What You Heard on YouTube, especially. I am trying to get to 1,000. I'm pretty close to getting to 1,000. So if you get a chance, like and subscribe. It's greatly appreciated. I try to make sure that I'm, taking care of people that listen to the show as much as I can. And, like your show, like Rick Hughes' show and Peter Blake, you want it fan-centric. I'm sick of seeing all these arrogant people up here that don't want to listen to what their listeners have to say. I think that this is the listeners are what makes everything go around. So we have to take care of them.
Brother, and when is the Professor Johnny Dean going to get a show? But Johnny, I'll come right back to you. Go ahead, Rick. Tell us where everyone can find you, brother.
Tonight at 9:00 right here on Bucks Report, we've got Live from the Cheap Seats. You want to reach me? Come on my show tonight.
You know what? Hey, Rick, you and Johnny. Now, Johnny, I'm not sure about Pittsburgh, but Rick, do they have a Maple Street biscuit?
They do not.
They do not. Oh, we lost him.
Let's
talk. Well, we can sit here and talk for a second, and if we have to finish this out, we will. But maybe he'll get his battery plugged in here. But I know what is Maple Street Biscuit. What was that?
That sounds so good right now.
Oh my God, doesn't it? Anyway, and
I don't even know if it's in St. Peter and Tampa.
Oh yeah, no,
it's in St. Pete, I believe. It's Seminole. It's in Seminole.
It's in Seminole. Oh,
yeah, it's in Seminole.
So food sucks up here, guys. Food sucks.
It's not supposed to. You're in Carolina,
in Charlotte, compared to
So we'll just I'm sure there's got to be some places.
Oh my God,
There's got to be
Connecticut.
something
When I
there.
lived in Connecticut, the food in Connecticut was amazing. But yeah, I'm that's the one thing I'm hating about it up here is the food.
Oh wow,
Oh,
that's why you
that's-
cook for yourself, bro.
What's that?
That's why you cook for
No, I
yourself.
do cook for myself, but who doesn't like to go out and grab food and try new things and all that? And it's just not happening here.
Yeah. Well, this is
So-
where you really improve. Like I'm trying to learn how to bake. That's kind of the direction I'm really wanting
Okay.
to go.
I'm
Oh,
I'm,
you-
I'm just starting to play with sous vide cooking. So
Gene just wants to master it all, man.
yep.
Yeah, and that's the one thing I've never had the patience to bake, and I'm not good at going by the recipe because I'm always like eyeballing stuff, and so I'm trying to get disciplined and make something that's going to be good.
Yeah.
I don't understand why you and Philip Schwegler haven't had your own show together, man.
I don't know. We keep missing each other. His schedule's a little bit off compared to mine, and
Hey,
those things.
hey guys, I appreciate you carrying for me, but I got it. My battery's going dead, and since I started this show, I got to end it, or we'll have a live show out there. So all three of you, thank you so much for joining
Hey,
me today for a
thank you
cup
for
of
having us
Ray. Let's do it again sometime when I actually bring enough power to cover the show, guys. All right.
All right. Have a good
All
one.
right, Ray.
All right.
Bye.
I'll
See
get
ya.
these comments later too, everybody. All right. You guys know how I end this every time. I hope my battery's got enough to do this because I love to do this. Make sure everyone needs to know that somebody cares today. Why don't you be the one to reach out and let them know?